my stepfather died, then my father died of cancer, and this was all by the age of 17. Then I had my arm almost like I was like disabled. The doctor said I'm not gonna move my arm. Like I had like from what people see on Instagram and my the kind of reality that exists now, I had a lot of just bad things happening my way at a young age that was really suffering and challenging, like, you know, grief, but challenges, poverty, just like everything thrown at me. And you can imagine my state and my mindset in that time. It was just like, what's the point of this? I love your like your facial hair, man. The trim is just so on point.
I just got it dyed, so I appreciate it.
Oh, amazing! It looks incredible, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got a lot of reds and grays and whites in there. So
really, you look like you're like super like kept up, nice, man.
I appreciate it, man. I like to look clean. You know, at least up clean, here.
Man. I'm like, oh, man, I need to like. I was just got off a bicycle. I'm like, I need to like be
looks
more.
Good. If I try to go my hair that long, I'd look like I have an afro. So
that's cool. I can see you with an afro, man. That'll be cool as well.
Oh man, I appreciate it, man. Well, dude, like, first of all, you're young as hell.
What do you mean? You look young too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. People think because my wife is 6 years older than me, and everyone thinks that I'm older than her. So I'm like, yeah, I guess I look old.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. Stress.
Well, whatever you got, I don't know if it's a camera filter, man. Your skin is smooth, man. You look young, so
no camera filter. Just a lot of lights.
You're doing a good thing. That's good.
A lot of lights. If I turn these lights off, it'll look crazy. But I appreciate you so much, man. How old is your daughter, by the way?
6 years old.
Oh, beautiful. Is that your only child?
Yeah, one and only.
One and only.
We're good.
You're done, huh?
One and done.
One and done. I get it.
You have three, man. You get it more than me, man. You're a hero, so.
I appreciate it. Well, the second time around was a buy one, get one. So 2 popped out.
Love it. Love it. That almost happened. Yeah. That's the best. Yeah.
Dude, you should have seen my face when we were getting the ultrasound, and it was a nurse was showing us, and she was explaining, like, you know, this is where your baby is. And then I'm looking above, and it's just like an identical image. I'm like, if that's the child, then what's that? And she's like, oh, you're having twins. Nobody told you? And I literally just turned white as a ghost. And I think I stopped breathing for about 10 seconds. Yeah. It was pretty bad.
You got a gift, man. Buy one, get one free.
Yeah.
It's a deal.
Wow. Yeah. My wife is like, I'm done. I'm tying my tubes, having a tube ligation, and we're not having any more children. So totally fine. Understandable. So let me ask you this. So 6 years. When did you start Intelligent Change? How long ago was that?
Almost 10 years. 2013.
Okay. And at what point, because this is just a question that popped in my head, at what point did you, because your daughter's 6 years old, so how many years into it were you kind of hands off, or were you still like on the grind? Like at what point were you like, oh, this is a winner and I can kind of take some breathing room?
No way, man. This is a whole different journey. So because I had a different business before, right? So Intelligent Change, I would say you only have to start looking at it from when I acquired the full rights from my business partner. I had a 50% business partner when I started in 2013. It started as a habit project, I would say. Yeah. And when I sold our other business in 2018, late 2018, already a year before I sold that business, where I was already in talks to fully buy out my partner, just because I saw Intelligent Change as something that I want to do for life and not kind of grow and sell it, because I'm really deeply passionate about the mission of the company. And so I was everything that you're seeing now with Intelligent Change is like, that's probably 3 years in the making. But the product, the main one's been around for almost 10 years.
Wow. So and the last 3 years, you really have, because I've seen it change. Like so I got into gratitude journaling probably 15 years ago, maybe 16 years ago, and which was introduced by a mentor of mine and friend. And he's like, dude, you need to just start writing things that you're grateful for. And then the 5-minute journal came out. I think I have like 6 of them, and I've gifted like a dozen of them. I got one for my kids just recently, the children one.
Nice.
Yeah. So I practice gratitude with them every night. One thing that you're grateful for, and then you guys release the children's one, and it's just something that we do. It's habit. Like, to put yourself in that perspective. I can't tell you. I'm not saying this because it's you. Like, I'll tell this to anybody. The power of habit, number one, and the power of gratitude, number two, have been the two most influential things to really finding any kind of success in my life, both financially and relationship wise. And it's so powerful that I think a lot of people misinterpret, like, oh, this is silly. Like, I'm grateful for the roof over my head, and I'm grateful for that I have food in my belly. How often can you keep saying those things and you sound repetitive? I look at it like, because I'll get a lot of people that are religious, like, talk to me, and they're like, well, why don't you just say prayer? There's a difference between you writing something down, like, there's scientifically, and you could probably address this, that when you write something down and you create that habit, you're like rewiring your brain to actually, it's like walk towards. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Is that something you understand? Like,
for sure. But I think before we get into that, as you said, I think it's important actually for you to say more about why it's been powerful for you, and what was it. What do you mean by that? This practice helped you. So what do you believe it was for you that was really transformative in that experience to have this habit?
I'm interviewing you, buddy, but I'll answer this question. I think the biggest thing that most people go through, myself, I guess I'll speak personally, was I had a lot of negative self-talk. I mean, I still do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like for me, it was like the off button. It's like, just shut off that negative talk. You wake up, and there are times where I woke up and I was just in a sour mood for no reason at all. Maybe, I wasn't in the best place financially, and I wasn't in the best place, spiritually, and spirituality is different for everybody. And I just wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with who I was. I wasn't happy with, where I was at that point in my life. And for me, it was like I was shutting off the noise. And at first, I'll be honest with you, it was very robotic, and it didn't seem authentic. And it just like, I don't understand the purpose of this. As I begun to do it more and more and more, I turned it into like, hey, instead of just being grateful, like, why don't you reflect on what you're grateful for? Like, what happened today? Like, one of the evening one was my favorite. Like, what happened today? What were 3 things today that you found gratitude in? And it was that reflection for me that was more powerful than the morning ritual. The morning ritual sets you up, but the evening ritual was like, you really are reflecting, and you're going to bed happy, you're going to bed content, you're going to bed in a positive mindset. So over time, what that happened, it just started compounding for me. And so the way that I didn't have to search, I didn't have to find gratitude. I just started being grateful. Like, it was, you know what I mean? Like, you're just grateful, man.
Mo, I know exactly what I mean, but it's the reason why I asked you the question. I think it's more important for listeners or viewers, if there's video to this, to hear from you first before I get into my spiel, because like, oh, this guy has obviously a gratitude journal or the 5-minute journal, and his whole business is based on that. And so that's why he's telling you the stuff that he's saying. But I think it's more powerful when you actually communicate it in your experience. And I think your experience is very similar to my experience, and the experience of people listening to this right now, is that I think at the end of the day, I don't think I'm special. I think, and I always try to break down things in terms of from this human experience of what we're experiencing, how can we amplify and make this experience better? Because from what you said, I don't know your full background to an extent, but I think we all share this background of the human experience can be very difficult at times and challenging for most of us. Mm-hmm. And even the ones who are at what you call in the 1% or whatever, they're also struggling. One of my favorite books of all time is Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. The way he starts that book is there's one truth in life. Life is suffering. And that is the ultimate truth. And once you realize that truth, you can begin to start living life. And I have goosebumps when I say this, and it may resonate to some, it may not resonate to others. And you may be thinking, isn't this guy about like gratitude and well-being? Why is he talking about like suffering? And the way I see that line and that statement is not inherently that life, it will be suffering at all times, but understanding that the human experience, you may experience suffering. And once you accept that fact and start going beyond that baseline, you're able to create your experience to a whole different level. So for myself, I also, like yourself, had challenging situations where, and this is how my whole journey began, is I come from, I'm an immigrant from Russia. My parents immigrated to Canada. My parents shortly divorced because being immigrants is very difficult. My mom went on her own, tried to raise 2 children, being on welfare, working night shifts in factories, like not knowing the language, like the true immigrant story, and me being part of it, being a teen, then not having a father, then being raised in this kind of poverty situation. Also thinking, why does my life suck? Why am I poor? Why do I not have enough? Comparing yourself, going to that whole loophole of just life sucks. And then to throw more, the thing is, as you get into these spirals of negativity, life will throw you even into a deeper end. So then what happened to me as I was approaching, my teenagehood, same thing, being a man growing up, not being good with women, feeling like a loser. Then my stepfather died. Then my father died of cancer, and this was all by the age of 17. Then I had my arm almost like I was like disabled. The doctor said I'm not gonna move my arm. Like I had, like, from what people see on Instagram and my kind of reality that exists in that, I had a lot of just bad things happening my way at a young age that was really suffering and challenging, like grief, challenges, poverty, just like everything thrown at me. And you can imagine my state and my mindset in that time. It was just like, what's the point of this? And I think like so many people come across these situations where you start to lose hope and you start to give up. But in that moment of challenge, I was able to, somebody through when my mom was working at this retail store and I was a stock person working at this retail store, he gave us Tony Robbins tapes to my mom, like tapes, actual tapes, like people don't even know what, like cassette tapes of, I think it was called Personal Power to 30 Days. And I started listening to these tapes when I was going through this like really challenging time. And one of the things that really stuck with me, Tony Robbins said, hey, have more hour of power in the morning. So when you wake up, make sure the first things in your mind should be like gratitude. Go take a shower, have your shoes ready, go outside, get ready. Motion creates emotion, like move, like get out, do something. And so that was kind of like my kind of gateway. And the biggest, as you said, one of the biggest habits that I got from that time that changed my life was just waking up in the morning and my first thought being, what am I grateful for? And so instead of looking at like all this crap that's going in my life, start looking at like what's going well. Like what do I have in my life that's actually going well? Because it can be, as I took people, through listeners and yourself through all the stuff, you probably in that moment, you probably started feeling bad. It got you in a lower frequency and state. You're like, whoa, that's just like, and then you get in a cycle. But the way you get out of that cycle, you have to raise the frequency. You have to start focusing on other things. Because one of the most powerful kind of concepts that I came across that connects to this is called, in our brain, we have this system called the reticular activating system, RAS. I don't know have you ever come across this term? Yeah, so this term kind of is a part of your brain that focuses on stuff. We're in this conversation right now, even though there's a window outside, I'm able to focus on this conversation. Or if I'm in a cafe, I'm having a conversation with a friend, I'm focusing on present in this conversation. Even though there's other conversations happening, but it gets muddled and you're able to focus. The same thing can happen. Let's say I mentioned something on this podcast about gratitude journal, 5-minute journal. Boom. All of a sudden you start going on social media. You'll start noticing that the 5-minute journal is everywhere. It was always there, but your mind will now start picking it up because our mind and this brain, this tool that we have is like a hardcore navigation tool. So whatever you give it, that's what it's going to focus on. So you're going to focus on crap. It's going to give you more crap. And the world just in general and the media and social media, what it has taught is that evolutionary, we as humans pay attention more to the negative than the good because this whole more or less safe life that we're living is fairly recent in our kind of history,
evolution
of our species.
Yeah.
So, or your brain is like just being hacked by all the negativity, and people are in this loop. So going back to my story, so by this habit, so what I instilled was, as soon as I'd wake up, whether it is when I'd wake up out of bed, I'll think of one thing that I'm grateful for. If I forgot, I'll train myself to do that in the shower. And now is the habit that just started to transform my life, my mindset. All of a sudden, things just started, going well. I met my life partner, who we have businesses with, and who's my wife, and who we have a child with. And we then created businesses. We created this lifestyle, all from this habit. And the 5-minute journal really came, after, because I had somebody who would then approach me, and he read the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and he asked somebody, do you know anybody who's actually living this 4-hour workweek thing? Because you all hear like, this is too good to be true, this lifestyle business, especially in like early 2010s. And this guy was smart. It's like, go seek who has actually done it versus, you'll say, just reading a book. And he found me. We got introduced. His name is UJ, and we met. And he's, being from Indian descent, he's very like in your face right away. He's like, tell me the info of like how to start a business.
Very type A.
I'm like, dude, yeah, dude, slow down. Let's just get to know each other. Let's become friends. We became friends. We're both really into, by that time I got more deeper into self-development, meditation, well-being, just reading, learning, absorbing information. And I said at that time what I've learned, because our first business did really well. We went, we made $1 million in our first year revenue, then just kind of started growing really fastly. We were one of the first people to kind of utilize YouTube to kind of grow the business. So at that point, I went from this poor kid to living my dream life, living the 4-hour work week, traveling the world, surfing Costa Rica, having 7 figures in my bank account, having the most beautiful woman in my life. And then both my wife and I, especially my wife, being then depressed. Right?
Your wife was depressed?
Yeah. Because
throughout all of the success.
And I'm going really fast because my wife and my daughter might interrupt me. So I'm trying to get the story as fast as possible. But what was happening in that kind of first moment was, I said, fast forward, went from this low to this high of thinking, okay, once I achieve, I turn around my mindset, I then can live the life of my dreams, right? In every possible sense. Time freedom, money freedom, also a partner in my life, everything. And then not actually feeling happy. Like what the hell is wrong? So when we had that conversation with him, and this was the birth of Intelligent Change in the 5-minute journal, I of course started, re-practicing and rethinking kind of certain things. But what I told him right away is that whatever business you start, and this is a great tip for, anybody listening or watching, is skip the step of just getting to the money. That was my first business. My first business is like, I want to make money. I want to be free. I don't want to work for anybody. I don't want to do 9 to 5. Like what everyone in a way is seeking now in the world, but I think by all the time in the world in history, we always wanted this thing. And then I told him, create a business that really aligns with your values and passion towards what you really want to do, because all businesses will be challenging at times. And for you to get through that challenge, you want to make sure that you are able to, the why is going to actually drive you further than just simply the why of money. And hey, at the same time, don't get me wrong, the why of money can be really strong. My first business was really strong why of money because I was just so poor. And I remember, my mom asking me for money. I'm living with my mom, and I'm pretty much about to graduate from university. And I proposed to my wife. I'm engaged, broke, unemployed, and she asked me for some rent money to help her with rent because she's also having a hard time. I break down and just be like, I'm such a loser. So that was in my first business, there was a strong why to make money. So you can do that for a certain time. And I was able to make that. But I'm saying beyond that why, once you do it, your why will grow. And that's why part of our symbol for intelligent change, if you look at our logo, a lot of people think it's Illuminati and we're part of the but it's not. Our logo and symbol is kind of like a sun, and there's a triangle there in the middle. The triangle represents Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The last triangle is self-actualization. And what I believe in is, in part of your podcast, The Habits of a Few, the sun represents the day, the habits that we have each day, that we wake up and we go to sleep each night. And the triangle represents our overall drive as people to self-actualize, to become better. I do believe that we have an innate desire to become better and to do more as the species and to evolve. Anyways, fast forward, this my advice was really just to create something that you're both passionate about. And then we just started thinking, and we read this book. We were discussing this book we used to do these epic hikes for like 5 hours. Me and UJ discussing books and ideas and things like that. And that book was called Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor. And in that book, Shawn Achor, who was a Harvard student and a Harvard researcher, really breaks down positive psychology research and how all these things of like gratitude and looking forward to your day and all this stuff that we kind of discussed, what's the science behind it? And I was like, this is brilliant. I've had this habit that I've instilled, as I told you, of, as soon as I wake up in the morning, think of some, at least one thing that I'm grateful for. And that changed my life. So I think this can actually be a really great product if we can create, because a lot of the realization for intelligent change was there's all these great books on positive psychology, personal development. Once again, the realization is most people don't read books, period. Yeah. However, people want to change. People, like as I said, people want to change. They want to evolve. They want to have better lives. Most people don't read books on self-development. Even the ones that do start to read the books, they don't finish them. And a small percentage of people that finish the book like Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor and say, wow, this is great. If I practice gratitude and say, for the next 21 days, create a habit where I say one new thing that I'm grateful for each day, it's scientifically proven that it will help me boost my well-being and happiness. Nobody does that. So the idea was with the 5-minute journals, like how can we skip that step and give people the idea and tools to actually implement the habit in their lives? Because another real big realization was that it's not about what you know, but it's what you practice each day, what habit that you have, what thought patterns you have. That changes your life. And the 5-minute journal was really just that. It was just a way to encompass the things that helped me get through my dark place. And I wanted to create something that I myself want to use every morning and night because I know how powerful this practice is, especially if you can because the idea was creating a toothbrush for your mind. We brush our teeth every morning and night. How come we don't have a toothbrush for our mindset? And that was the idea with the 5-minute journal. So it's been an incredible kind of journey. And as I said, even at the beginning when we were speaking, the thing took off naturally. Yes, there was, my wife, God bless her, she has over 1 million followers. That helps to get the boost. And Tim Ferriss at the beginning picked it up because UJ, my previous business partner, gave it to him at an event where we first introduced the book. But other than that, if your product is crap, it's not going to take off. But what has happened because of people like yourself, who, as you said, you're on your 6th 5-minute journal, or you're buying for your kids. Once you put it to use, you see the effectiveness of it. And you see the effectiveness of the most when you stop practicing it, right? So when you're like, I don't need this anymore. It's like, and that's why I always compare like the toothbrush for your mind. It's not like we're brushing your teeth. You're like, you know what? I brushed my teeth for 40 years. I think I'm kind of done. Like, I don't want to brush my teeth anymore. And like, what's gonna happen in like in that short time? Things will slowly, bacteria will start to grow,
start to rot.
Yeah, and the same thing is in our mind, but for some reason we don't have that idea about our mindset and our mind. But anyways, that was me trying to riff with you as fast as possible to kind of get all of my kind of knowledge and things like that in regards to the story behind the 5-minute journal, intelligent change, all that stuff. But that's it. I'm done. Now we're gonna ask you questions, Mo.
No. You're good. I first of all, I don't know. Like, I haven't heard that story apart from like what I've read on the website and what I've garnered. So that was first of all, it was very inspirational. Being from immigrant parents myself, coming from nothing, being able to build something, and so it resonates with me, and I know it resonates with a lot of people, because it just gives light to this opportunity of inspiration and motivation. Like, if a lot of people say, like, listen, if I could do it, you could do it. Sure. But what were the actual steps? Like, what did you do? And the thing is that most people, myself included, we were always after skills. Like, we want to develop new skills, high income skills, high net worth skills, whatever the case may be. And that's very useful. You need that in order to create something, right? But a lot of times, I would say 90% of the time, the thing that's holding us back is this. And you can be the smartest person in the world. You could have all of the opportunities, but if you're not right up here, if you don't have the correct mindset, and if you're not geared and trained and are in the right perspective, I think that a lot of times you're just going to run your business. My first successful business, I subconsciously drove it into the ground because I didn't have the necessary tools, because I had this I almost felt like, this is what my friend of mine was saying. He said, you self-sabotage. It's like you build this company and then you become comfortable. And then when you become comfortable, you become complacent. And like the only way that you can move forward is to burn it to the ground and start all over again. And it was really eye-opening for me because it made me realize that, holy shit, my mind isn't where it needs to be. I can't keep doing that for the rest of my life. Like, I have a family. I can't build a company and then burn it to the ground every single time. That doesn't make any sense. So what's the thing that's holding most people back? Well, it's mindset. Well, how do you alleviate mindset? This is one of the best ways that you could do it. Like, you're not just giving people, hey, you need to write one thing that you're grateful for down every day. No. You're literally giving them a tried and true, I would say at this point, whether it's anecdotal or scientifically proven, it is a proven method. 3 things that you're grateful for first thing in the morning. 3 things that would make today great. Daily affirmations. And then in the evening, prior to bed, pre-bed, highlights of the day. That was my favorite. And then the thing that you learned today. And the thing that you learned today always threw me for a loop. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't learn anything. What did I learn today? Oh, I learned that my daughter loved Pokemon. Just random crap. You know what I mean? Or I learned that I actually really love music. And music as in like playing music or an instrument or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, people overlook the simplest, tiniest little things, and it blows my mind. So I just think it's so powerful, man. And I appreciate you bringing it to the world.
Yo, thank you so much, Mo. I really appreciate it. But as you said, it's in a way just having this, people go to the gym, we exercise, and that was the idea. There's just not, as you said, even these questions, they may sound simple, but if you really consider it, like you're in a way like exercising your mind. When you even think of the question, you said like, what did I learn today? Like, well, what is that? Even that same thing. It's a challenging question for me too, but that's the point of it as well. The previous question was, what would I make today? What would I have done today to make today better? Right. And a lot of people thought was too negative. So
I had those ones.
Yeah, and we just changed it to what did I learn? Because that one was tricky one, and we explained it in the instructions. The way we said to write an answer to that question is affirm it in a positive tense, right? Yeah. So say you're like, I wish I went to bed at 10 p.m. today and I went to sleep at midnight. You'd write, I go to sleep at 10 p.m. Right, so you're reaffirming. It's in a way, it's like a lower affirmation to the future tense of
I personally,
who you are going to be.
Not to interrupt you, I personally preferred it that way.
The previous one,
yeah, only because I like it took me some time to figure it out, and then when I figured it out, it resonated more with me in the way that the structure of the sentence. Like, I understand, like, what did I learn today? It's very positive. It's already framed positive, but yes, I like that, having to think critically for a moment, and it's like you're making your brain work for a little bit and then emotionally trying to connect to, I don't know, maybe that's just me
for sure.
But I get
we'll make an OG hardcore version.
I so freaking appreciate it. A Habits of the Few version.
Yeah, but also to I know. Thank you so much for that. I think one of the other things to note for listeners is that one of the things that you mentioned, this is a very powerful concept. A book that has helped me the most on it that I can recommend, it's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I don't know if you came across that book, but what he speaks about there is exactly what you mentioned. Whether it be in your relationships, your business, you get to a certain stage, it's like a temperature gauge, right? It's like too high. And you have, those automatic thermostats that will automatically lower to get the room to the right temperature or to lower or higher, depending on what your comfort level is. And most of us have these comfort levels that you speak about. And this is the reason why, especially people who win the big lottos, they lose it so quick. It's just outside their comfort zone. Versus if you work your way up to that state, you'll be more used to, you'll say, even that comfort, that level of wealth. But if you go from nothing, even let's say myself, I've been on this journey as well of accumulating like financial abundance and wealth. It's been now more than a decade. I would say it takes 10 years to kind of get adjusted. I know so many people in my circle who has made, sold companies for hundreds of millions.
Yeah,
they're still like they're still broke in their mindset. They're penny pinching. They're saving. I'm like, dude, like you don't need to like do that. You can afford to fly business class now. Like you can chill out.
Yeah. I had a guy who was similar like that, and he still used coupons.
Exactly.
He had an 8-figure net worth, and he was still using coupons. I'm like, I understand why you're doing it because but I still believe that it was fear based.
Yeah,
and it wasn't
exactly.
like it wasn't just trying to be smart and whatever. I don't know. So I got I get it.
Yeah, Big Leap for anybody with that. It's a good overview. I'm gonna reread it myself.
Yeah, I mean he was old school. I mean the guy's 60 now, 63. So, anyways, but let me ask you a question because I don't know if we're running out of time or not. I'm having a great time.
Yeah,
this is amazing.
We're at, yeah, me too. We can keep going as when my daughter probably comes in and we'll be like,
we'll wrap
Papa,
it up.
What are you doing?
Oh, good. All good. So I did want to tell you that actually what inspired this podcast was Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans. Tim Ferriss was like my favorite podcast. And amazing, so the fact that he was representing, I think that's freaking amazing. For children, I'm curious because it's been challenging. What's really easy with my children is that every night before we go to bed, part of our bedtime routine is I ask them, what's one thing that you're grateful for? Transitioning into having them write it down and going through like the catalog has been a challenge. Any tips for me or any parents? They're 8.
So you said you have twins that are 8 or?
Yeah, I have twins that are 8 years old and I have an older daughter. She's already grown. She's 20.
Okay, that's good.
She's 23 years old.
What? No way.
Yeah, my wife had my wife had her when she was very young, but so my 8-year-olds, it's been very challenging and my 23-year-old is like literally like a godsend, like built-in nanny, amazing, incredible older sister, but she's still a kid, which I love. She has that like kid innocence, she's most of the time she wants to be home, and when she does go out, she always comes back home. She misses being home, and like my wife and I don't want her to move out until she gets married. So I don't know, maybe it's like a cultural thing. But with my 8-year-olds, it's been challenging to be able to convert them over to like the actual dedicated journal. Do you have any tips for parents helping out with that? Because I'm sure that would be very beneficial. It would be beneficial for me.
For sure. Like I said, my daughter is 6, so she's still fairly early even on writing and reading and stuff like that. And it's been great where she has from time to time shown interest in kind of trying to do it herself, and she does. And a lot of times she would really re-inspire me to like write in the physical one, because a lot of times I'll like do the app, or even myself as a founder, I'll like get off the habit and be like, hey, I got this habit down on lock, and I do actually, because I have been practicing for more than a decade. It does automatically. I do think when I wake up or go to the shower, it's automatic. Before I go to sleep, my wife and I, even if we wouldn't do the 5-minute journal, we practice it. And that's another thing I think important note to communicate is I don't want you to actually be using the 5-minute journal for life, like in terms of like nonstop. If you will, it's great. Ideally, you can truly embody and instill the mindset of gratitude if you can. But what I'm trying to communicate, let's say with the kids, and I think what you do already, like, and that's something what we do with our daughter. So pre-bed, before she goes to sleep, we'll say, hey, what's one thing you're grateful for? And she'll say, Papa, Mama, myself, usually. and then we'll say, what's one amazing thing that happened today, which was a previous question, right? We also adjusted that to highlights of the day.
Bring it back, Alex. Bring it back.
Yeah, old school. You see, OG. And we ask her or that, and we ask her, what did you learn today? I think especially it was good for that. But what I'm trying to say is that I think you as a parent having that practice, in a way, it's even more powerful than them writing it. At this age, I'm saying, between this age, we did this with our daughter ever since she kind of can speak to us and things like that. So probably from last 2 years, really good, but even before. And then before she goes to sleep, my wife always says, I love you and accept you exactly as you are. You are safe.
Oh, that's
so
sweet.
Same thing, just brainwashing it into the subconscious.
Yeah.
In terms of just the feeling like being accepted and loved for who you are, because that's where a lot of the stuff comes out to people, especially for girls. So that's what very important. But to answer your question, I think our parenting style is very we do our best not to force stuff, even with education. We're more Montessori style, which means it's more child-led than teacher-led or parent-led, meaning you ultimately want to inspire them to do it on their own. And I think that's why what we do as parents, in terms of what we practice, if they see you actually writing in your journal every day, right? Or if they see you embody certain of these habits every day, there's most likely more chances of them actually doing it than you telling them, hey, you should be doing this. And like, hey, why aren't you doing it? I'm not seeing you writing your 5-minute journal. Why are you telling me to write my 5-minute journal? So I think it's inspire through your own action and what you do. And then you just have encouragement, like, hey, let's do this together, right? And sometimes they'll say on the weekend, we'll all do our 5-minute journals together, like just for fun. Like it doesn't have to be like,
I like that idea.
It doesn't, and then also like, I think the way we are, we're not like religious about like stuff like we must do it or whatever. And that's I think another thing.
Neither we are.
I think part of this podcast and its name, like Habits of the Few, I think a lot of people, the habits can then become crutches. If you don't do your 5-minute journal, your day is screwed, right?
Right.
No, it's
right.
not. It's not going to be screwed. Like you'll be fine. Just say to yourself, now in that moment and think of it and feel it. Maybe even close your eyes. Do whatever practice. What I'm saying is that you can be flexible on the practice. So I think same thing with kids, and our approach has just been more, like I said, it's more easy into it, because I think what happens in school, and what's happened to many of us, that curiosity was like kind of like punched out. Like let's say the difference, like I have a sister. She was way better than me at school, like way better in math, all that stuff. She was like a great kind of student. But my dad always told her, like, you got to do stuff. Me, they're like, oh, he's kind of stupid, so like it's fine, whatever. and he's a boy, whatever. There's just no hope for him. So they kind of gave up on me. So I didn't have the pressure.
Bro, we've got so much in common.
But I didn't have the pressure to like I have to like be good at school. And my mom was like very chill, like, hey, just you failed, it's okay, just try next time, And that's what that's what I see. The biggest difference between me and my sister, when she finished university, she doesn't really consume content or books on how to improve myself. When I actually graduated university, I'm a freaking sponge, man. Like for everything, for podcasts, for books, for any new information, knowledge. I love this stuff. Like I literally, even me, I was having conversations on this. That's why I'm probably the most alive, is like having conversations like this. It was on the way here, I'm re-listening to my favorite book, Lynchman. Anyone who follows me probably knows I talk about this book all the time. But it's, like I said, these habits become part of your identity. I'm not doing this because I want to be now successful. I'm doing this because I've become this person who's curious, who's learning.
Yep.
And that's how I'm connecting, I think, because what happens to many people, they have a bad association with even books and learning things like that because it gets knocked out of them because it's forced, especially when they're young. So my advice to any parent is like, just dude, like, don't put the pressure. Be embody and be the inspiration for your child. And I think that's going to be way more powerful, especially if they see mommy and daddy like kicking ass and just doing so well. Be like, damn, like I want to do like that. Especially if they see their friends. I'm sure like hopefully it'll be like for you when they become teenagers, or my daughter, like my dream is like when their friends come over and be like, hey, your parents are cool. Like that's the ultimate I think sign. If your kids friends think that their father or parent is cool, that's an ultimate sign out. Because as they get older, then they start kind of thinking, okay, what do my friends think is cool? Because not what dad says is cool. But if their friends say that, hey, your parents are cool, what they're doing is cool, I want to learn more, and they will say start gathering around your house and start asking you questions. So that's what I try to embody, I think, in a relationship or as a person, as a parent. And it's the same way how I've been able to be in this relationship, we'll say with my wife, is when I said, hey, I'm not doing this to be in a relationship. I'm just doing this for myself. I want to be a better person, not to attract the person. I'm just doing this I'm happy with myself. When I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, I'm pumped. I'm like, this is a great person. I want to have a great relationship with me. So that's overall like my mindset on a lot of this stuff.
I love it, man. I love it. Your daughter here?
Some more light. Yeah, I'm just trying.
Oh, light. Got it. I think that's really important. The thing that I do, so I've been doing the gratitude with my kids, I don't know, since they were really young. It got to the point where now if I forget, because sometimes I forget and I'm just exhausted, I go tuck them in. Like, you forgot to do what we're grateful for. I'm like, oh, damn. Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's amazing, how powerful. And I love what you said about you don't want everybody to do this for the rest of their life. The idea is to embody it and be in gratitude. I use it now more of like because I used to I was doing it every day for a long, long time. And now I just do it when it's inconsistent, but it's consistent. I feel like I need to do it. I feel like I woke up and just something off, I'll do it. Which is really
a little brush to your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is really important. How do you set your day for gratitude apart from the journal? Like, let me rephrase that. How did you set your day before you had the journal and you were just climbing into this form of gratitude? Does that make sense?
I think before even all of this, as I mentioned, is the simplest, and this is what I always tell people, right? You don't need the 5-minute journal. What you need is just take responsibility for your life. Like once you as I was speaking about at the beginning of this podcast, your life only will start to change once you take responsibility for your life. When you can't blame the government, the religion, your parents, your upbringing, whatever it is, take responsibility. So for me, that's how it was the first kind of kicker, is that I'm responsible for my well-being and happiness. I don't allow what has happened or a thing that happened throughout the day or at work, whatever, dictate how I feel or who I am or who I show up as a person, because ultimately I take responsibility. And I think most people lack this thing, is that simply they're not taking responsibility for their life. They're blaming somebody else. They're blaming whatever it is and not taking responsibility. I think so for myself, it all started with taking responsibility. And once I did that, I'm like, okay, I'm responsible for my life. I want to make it better. How can I live my dream life? And to get out of that dark hole, as I said, it was just a simple practice of one thing. It doesn't even have to be 3. Just just start with one thing that you're grateful for each time when you wake up. Try to make that your first thought in your mind. And it'll take time. And that's why still writing it and having a tool can help speed up that process to make it a habit, because we'll forget and we just won't do it, because habits, they take time to instill and train. They don't just automatically happen. Otherwise, everyone will be like rich and wealthy and living their best life. But it takes work. The same way if you see somebody in incredible shape, they didn't just like walk into the gym and became like this super fit person. It became a lifestyle. So part of that, like I said, for me, was just creating more of this lifestyle of just simple things. A mindset of take responsibility, mindset of one thing I'm grateful for, mindset of, okay, I'm now responsible also for my body. And for me, I'm a 5-minute guy, right? So my workout is 7 minutes. And my wife would laugh at me before. She's like, oh, you and your 7-minute workout. But I'm like, hey, it's better than nothing. And the same thing. That's very true. Most people with mindset, with happiness, with well-being, wealth, it's like all or nothing, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm like, do like a little bit. And there's a lot of science into this as well, in terms
Absolutely.
of like, if you want to learn how to brush floss your teeth, just floss one tooth. I think BJ Fogg was the researcher and scientist who had that study. Just do one little step. And same thing with let's say my workout. I as now you see Andrew, Dr. Huberman and Andrew.
I was just about to mention.
Speak about this. All these things is becoming more mainstream. But I was doing this stuff like back in the day. So I'm saying my little habit is I do, let's say, my 5-minute journal, the thought practice of the 5-minute journal. I get outside. I try to get outside as fast as I can in the morning. I understand with kids it's a bit difficult, and you might have to do that. But then when I can, my best kind of setup and morning routine is very simple. If you live in a house, you have most likely, especially in North America, you hopefully have a little patch of grass. Go on that patch of grass, bare feet. I do my little yoga mat. I do some sun salutations, 5 minutes. It's just a little yoga stretching, 7-minute workout. Boom, done. I got my like outdoor exposure, light exposure, grounding exposure, overall just movement, and get some good vibes and music that I listen to, and done. Like, it's simple. It's like 15 minutes. And in total, let's say if you put in the 5 minutes in there, it's like 20-minute practice. But even then, I think for most people, that's overkill. Like I said, I would just start with one thought of just one thing you're grateful for, or just have a simple journal. If you don't have money, simple journal you can get the cheapest one from the dollar store, and just write one line each day. Literally, I'm a simple guy. Just do it. Our app actually as well, the 5-minute journal, and part of the reason why we created it, the same format that what you pay for in the physical, it's actually for free, right? You only pay if you want. You only pay if you want like the pictures and the videos and whatever other stuff. But the basic format that will still, scientifically back and all that stuff, you can still do that in an app for free. So overall, that's why I say take responsibility, because in life, there's no excuses. We're living in I think the best time in history. We were living, even normal people live better than kings 200 years ago in regards to having basic sanitation and running water and things like that. And that's why I said, if we don't practice it, we don't think about it, and we just take things for granted.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like if you don't have money, like you could literally, so you're saying you could download the app. If you wanted the questionnaire and you wanted to write it down, you could go get a journal from the dollar store and just, answer the questions that you have on the app. If you wanted like a physical copy, because for me, like I like pen and paper. I know there's a lot out there,
It's old school.
Yeah. Which is amazing. I did want to ask one follow-up question. Do you think that there has to be a catalyst for taking responsibility? I can't tell you how many times, and myself included, but more and more I'm seeing people just blaming everything for their circumstance and their mood and their behavior, and sometimes it's almost elusive, but my question has been like, this is an ongoing question I've been asking a lot of experts, like, do you believe that there has to be a catalyst, something not necessarily catastrophic, but something that's kind of like, dude, whoa, that I can't keep blaming everything and everyone anymore. Like, there's no more excuses. Like, at what point do you have to have that understanding, like you really need to take responsibility? Like, do you think that there has to be a catalyst in your life, some moment that says, aha, Like, grow up.
Like I said, from my experience, it does take a few rock bottoms, and rock bottoms, you know, there's many. So, and I personally gone through, and for some people you have to get there, and that can be kind of your catalyst, as it was, let's say, for my life. Does it have to be like that? I don't think so. I think that's a famous quote, is like, you know, the truly wise learn from others and from others' mistakes. I believe we can do that. And I think part of us, let's say, having this conversation, and part of my intention with being here is to be able to pass on these things, so people don't have to go through this kind of rock bottom process and just figure these things out. I remember I was one time at a dinner, and Max Lugarv, I believe, has become now more kind of open and more public, and shares a lot of stuff. He's more into health. And I remember I was at this dinner that a friend put together in New York, and we're all going around the table, kind of sharing our stories. And most people's stories are like whack, you know. A lot of like successful people. There's just, like, as I started this podcast, there's a reason behind the drive and success and ambitions. There's something that went up, you know, that drives us. Most of the time, when everything's cool, you know, people are fine. But I'm not sure. I would love to actually have this conversation with Max. I haven't seen him ever since, but I'm sure we'll get to meet. But I think Max was the only one in that table of probably 10 plus people. In terms of when it got to him, he said, my childhood was pretty, you know, I think like parents from like Upper West or East Side, kind of all good. Like it doesn't seem like there was too much kind of drama. And he's like, that's why I'm just kind of more passionate about like helping people with their health and things like that. I'm not sure to the extent of sometimes if maybe he was hiding stuff or not hiding. But what I'm trying to say, I think if you can have a base, and that's what I'm trying to provide for my daughter, right? If we can provide a base of safety, I think that's when you can self-actualize as a person and do well.
Okay, so
we can do part 2 in the future.
I'd love to. I can talk to you for days, man. You need a podcast. Do you have a podcast?
I do. We have a podcast, Ikonn's podcast. We just restarted it.
Beautiful.
I need a podcast. Part of me, if anybody wants to actually interview me, part of me now, what I'm realizing, I need to get out more. I'm doing, because I've gotten to this point where I'm like, hey, I kind of like want to be more private. We've been there before, we'll say, with our previous stuff. It's good to have something, but the quote that kind of rings true is, it's not our dark that scares us, it's our light. Right, whatever that Marianne Williamson quote, we kind of discussed that. So in a way, even for me, I'm kind of in a way hiding, because I'm like, what if I blow up and then I can't like have a normal life? I love my life. Like my life is great. So that's what I'm in a way that my light is kind of scares me sometimes.
You know, but that's still something, like most of the things are out of your control, but that's something I think you can literally keep a gauge on it. Like for me, I have 2 Instagram accounts, or I have 2 public profiles. One is private for my family. The other, I seldomly ever post anything about my wife or my children. So for being in, let's call it the public eye, I'm pretty private. Like my businesses are private, everything, like nobody knows even what I do other than this podcast. And I do that for a reason. It's just, I don't want all that to be up there in the world. So I completely understand what you're saying, especially having, you know, daughters, man. Like, I don't know. I don't like having kids in the limelight too much. Yeah. There's a lot of weirdos in the world.
I don't know too. Yeah. But like, it's.
But you personally,
I'm
different.
open because I'm open. Yeah. But I'm open even with my family too. I think part of it has been for me that what has allowed me to live my life the way I have is because other people have shown the way. And other people have shown that, hey, this is possible.
Yep.
And I think that's so important. And so it's this tricky balance. So we'll see. I'll figure it out.
It is. And I'll tell you this. I'll end it with this. I didn't really know your story. I thought you honestly, like I had no idea. I didn't know what to expect.
Most people don't.
hearing where you came from and your story and what you were able to accomplish, it inspires me. and I'm sure it's going to inspire a lot of people, because it's like, damn, like this is just a regular dude. He came, he didn't have everything on a silver platter. He was able to make something out of himself. And what's more important is that he was able to essentially rewire his brain for success and gratitude. And like, if you could do that, I think no matter what it is you want to do, whether it be entrepreneurship, you want to be a scientist, you want to be a doctor, you want to be an astronaut, you want to be an artist, it doesn't matter. Like we were talking about earlier, I think the most important thing is what's up here. And if you can fix this or rewire it or enhance it to whatever extent, like start somewhere, and being in a state of gratitude, I think, is the ultimate success. So I appreciate you sharing that with the world, man. And where can people find you if you want to be found?
Definitely. You can find me at Alex Ikonn on Instagram, on YouTube. I'm gonna restart my YouTube. My channel got deleted by YouTube. I don't know why. It was a little accident. But I'm actually, once again, even by this challenge, I'm excited. I'm excited to start from zero. And just start fresh and like see where I can take it. I think that's another thing, is part of this mindset. But I think find me, like I said, wherever, Alex Ikonn.
Is that Instagram. Your real last name? Ikonn?
It is. So yeah. So
is that how it's actually pronounced?
Ikonn? Well, some people say Ikonn, right? But
that's the most baller last name I've ever heard. That is so awesome.
The origin, I'm open, right? So my full last name is Ikonnikov. So it's the same thing. It's just long. So when I was growing up in Canada, nobody was like, "What? I kind of cough." Like no one. That was my kind of thing. So what my Canadian friends would then call me, they'd be like Ikonn, and that was kind of my nickname. And so when I got my
Ikonn was your nickname.
Yeah, so Ikonn was my nickname. So when when Facebook started, I just put Ikonn, and that kind of stuck. And then when we were getting married, Mimi's like, I want your nickname. I don't want your full name. And then we were buying a house, and the lawyer's like, this is like a rock star name, man. Just make it short. And in Canada, it's easy. So I just cut off the last 4 letters and just made it Ikonn. So it's not like I didn't made it up. It's still there.
It's your actual
and the
name.
Origin, the origin is still there. So it's legit.
No, I love it. I was just mentioning it because it's one of the most baller gangster names I've ever heard.
All right.
Thank
you so much, Mo.
I appreciate it, man. I'll tag you on social, and I'll let you know when the episode is live.
Perfect. Take care.
All right, brother.
Have a great day.
It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.